Hi. Welcome to another edition of our online forum. My name is Adeline Sede Kamga, the founder of FabAfriq magazine and FabAfriq Media Group. I am extremely happy to be here once more to talk to you about a pertinent issue that is affecting us as human, as people. We've been working in the last few months, we've been working on an amazing edition of FabAfriq magazine where the theme and the topic is accelerating investment to terminate or eliminate female genital mutilation. We cannot have such conversations without the right authorities to answer, some of the questions that is burning. The last week we posted a few questions online, and a lot of people were asking questions about FGM. They wanted to find out more, and they wanted to know why up to date we are still having such practices in our communities. This is a call for concern for many, but I know the majority of the people who've got the burdens are the head of states, big NGOs, big organizations, and people who are activists and who really stand against such practices. Why is it so hard to end it? Why, despite meetings upon meetings, initiatives upon initiatives, why is it a difficult culture, a difficult practice to end? We've brought the right people on board a call today, and it's going to be an hour and a half with us. Before we jump on this call, I want to say a background about the latest edition of FabAfriq magazine. The latest edition of FabAfriq magazine was actually commissioned by Defender on behalf of UNFPA, and we did a kind of 360 publication on FGM. We talked about what it is. We talked about the main, the players, the key players. We also talked about some of the success cases of those who used to be practitioners or practicers and have changed to now promoters and activists. We did a few interviews, which I'm sure you'll be happy to find out more. At the end of this meeting, we're going to share links where you can have access to these editions free of charge. We're also going to be giving you contact of people that you can call and talk about this. If you've noticed that someone in your community is undergoing such or is practicing FGM, this is the right time for you to speak up, because we can never do it on our own. They can never do it on their own. We have to come together as people, as I said, to make sure this stops. Our last edition, as I said, was commissioned by Defenders and sponsored by UNFPA, and we've launched it over 3 weeks now, yes. And I'm happy to say it has truly been welcomed by the community, by the people. This is because we've received a lot of feedback, positive feedback from contributors or people who would like to contribute going forward. So these live sessions that we're doing from this Friday, 3 Fridays to come, is sessions that we've planned to bring in the right authorities to talk about FGM, where you can ask your questions and where you can really give recommendations on what they can do. Before I bring in my speakers, I would like to give you a brief background of who they are. Mireille Tushiminina is the global coordinator of UNFPA-UNICEF Trust Fund Joint Program to Eliminate FGM. She's a doctor of law and public policy candidate, a certified mediator and negotiator with practical experience engaging conflicts, states in Africa and other contexts, specific issues and regional and sub-regional levels. She has engaged with institutions on projects and programs such as the United Nations Security Council Resolution 1325 on women, peace, and security. I am one of her proud follower. I follow Mireille like a hawk, because whatever this woman says, she does. This woman has received so much accolades of her work. She's got proven track records of the things that she's been able to do. And when you talk about leaders in the field that they are, then Mireille is a leader. If you're not following her, please do make sure you go right on LinkedIn today and start following her, because what she says is actually the core of the matter, the core of the issues. And for you to be in the know, you have to make sure you are following the right people, the right voices. My next speaker for today is Walda Keza Shaka. She's a program officer of African Defenders, Defenders, and we've been working with her for over 6 months now. She's been an instrument to the release of this magazine and a true value contributor to what we've shared today. She is the program officer of Defenders, the Pan African Human Rights Defenders Network. The Secretariat of African Defenders is based in Kampala, Uganda, and hosted by Defenders. Keza is the coordinator. Keza coordinates the operations of the Ubuntu Hub Cities Initiative, which is a temporary reduction program for African HRDS at risk. The initiative has established hubs in 7 cities on the continent, which aim to support HRDS to continue their activism work in a safe and enabling environment. So, truly happy to be having Keza today with us. And the next person on our list today is, give me a minute, I just want to pull in her profile. It's always good to make sure you have the right profile. Okay. We have Ashifa Agede, who is the Program Africa of Youth Hub Africa, based in Nigeria. It's kind of interesting how we had a one-to-one meeting today with Ashifa, and we're going through the program for today, and she started talking about the different things that her organization does. I told her I am not the right person for you to state all this. You will have the opportunity to talk about this on our live program. So I'm going to start by bringing Mireille on the stream, and then I'm going to follow by bringing Keza, and then I'll follow up with Ashifa. So over to you, Mireille. How are you? I'm so happy to be hosting you today. How are you doing?
Hi,
Hi,
thank you
thank
so
you so
much,
much,
Adeline.
Adeline.
And it's
And
so
it's
much
so
a pleasure,
pleasure,
to jump on the
jump on
call
the
with
call with
you.
you.
I have
I
my
have my
coffee,
coffee,
and
and
thank
thank
you
you
for, I'm
for,
really
I'm really
humbled for
humble for
your
your
presentation.
presentation. I mean,
Um,
um,
I was
I
not
was not
expected
expected
to be,
to be,
introduced as
introduced
such,
as such,
but just
but
to know
just to
that I
know that I
have
have
my
my
copy
copy
and
and
everyone should
everyone
get
should get
one.
one. You know,
If
if
you
you
don't have a
have a
hard
hard
copy,
copy,
try at
try at
least
least
to,
to,
uh, I'm
I'm
sure
sure
FabAfriq
FabAfriq
team
team
will get to
will get
share
to
the
share the
link.
link.
It's rich
It's
with
rich with
content,
content,
amazing
amazing
stories
stories
from
from
champions,
champions,
from
from
survivors,
survivors,
from the
from the
heart,
hearts,
and
and
you
you
hear
hear
about the
about
work
the
that
work
we're
that we're
doing,
doing,
and
and
how we are
how.
really thriving to make a world free of FGM for our women and young girls, by 2030. So I will advise everyone to really have a copy. Thank you so much, Adeline.
Thank you, Mireille. Thank you. I'm gonna pop in Keza on the stream. And just before I bring in Keza, Mireille, where are you checking in from? Where are you calling from today?
So let me unmute myself. As you know, for the past 2 weeks, we've been right in the midst of UNGA. So I am in New York because the Global Joint Program, which I lead, hosted 2 amazing events. One was a donor dinner, and another one that is still ongoing until the 26th, right at the lobby of the UN Secretariat, is our very first men engaged artivists, amazing or artists really who have committed to this cause exhibit. So we have 3 amazing artists, which I'm really grateful and thankful for the artwork, who were able to really express how they feel, and a strong and huge contribution to advocacy efforts. So we have Nicholas Smith from the US, we have Roland Zanga from the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and we have Muhad from Yemen. So if you have a chance, just hang around the UN Secretariat, go straight in the lobby, and even if you go on my Facebook link and our social media, you'll get to see the artwork that are there in display. Thank
And
you.
do we get to take pictures as well if we get
Yes,
there?
yes, take pictures. You get to take pictures, and so I'm here in New York attending the UNGA. Yes,
Okay, thank you,
United
Mireille.
Nations General Assembly, because not everyone gets acronyms, so it's the United Nations General Assembly.
Hey, okay, so there we go. I think we have a little bit of echo, but as we speak, it's going to go away. I'm definitely sure. And if we keep muting our mic when we're talking, then we're going to, to get rid of the echo. But do let me know if you hear any echo, and then I'm going to try and fix it in the background. So, hi, Keza, how are you today, and where are you checking from?
Hi, Adeline. It's nice to be here. Thank you so much for organizing this. It's been a long time coming, and I'm glad that it's actually finally happening and having our magazine out. It's really been an instrumental piece that we're all very proud of here at Defend Defenders. So I'm checking in from Kampala. That's where Secretariat is based, as you rightly introduced me. So yeah, I'm really glad to be on this platform and looking forward to a discussion.
Thank you so much. Ashifa, I think she might be off the stream. So while waiting for her to come, I think we should really start right away. And we're going to start with Mireille. Um, Whenever she comes back on the call, I'm going to add her on the stream because I can see that she might be having network issue. So I'll wait for her to come back in. But in the meantime, I want to thank everyone who is joining. Please do share the link. We cannot have these conversations without you. So share the link so that more people can join. What usually happens is that we start on the low, and by the time we keep going, more people join in, more people go. But one thing I will let you know is that this conversation is being recorded, and this webinar is going to be shared after this, so we are sure, definitely sure, that more and more people are going to watch this. So we definitely want to pour in our hearts into what we're doing, and then we just do it. So let's right up straight to question one. Mireille, I would really like to ask you this question. I know that sometimes when we are on the panel discussion of more than three people, we kind of get, we kind of get confused. We're not confused, but we get locked into how the question should flow. But it's going to be really straightforward and really easy. So I bet you everybody's gonna have. Okay, I think she's here now, so I'll just add her on the stream. Hi, Ashifa. I'm adding you on the stream. So I'd like you to tell us where you're checking from and tell us a little bit about who you are.
Okay, hi everyone. I am Ashifa Agede. I work with Youth of Africa, and I am joining today from Nigeria in the Federal Capital Territory. Yes, it's nice to be here with all of you. I work as a program reproductive health, where I support programs that promote gender equality and the rights of women and girls. That I love to do. Having to engage with women on program make our lives better is all that I'm.
Thank you. I think we might have a little bit of network issue, but I'm sure this is going to be fixed by the time we move on. So in case you missed it, Ashifa is checking in from Lagos. Life in Lagos, for those who know, Lagos is a crazy place. For you to have been able to come on this call with us instead of being somewhere trying to beat the traffic going somewhere, we are truly happy. We are honored that you took your time out to be here with us today. So let's move straight into the matter of the thing. FGM, Mireille, what is FGM? Give us a background on FGM and what this really is.
Wow. First off, really, thank you so much for your question. And to tell you the truth, as you rightly introduced me as the global coordinator of the UNFPA-UNICEF Global Joint Program on the elimination of FGM, before I kind of dive into the conversation, I myself, having worked in this landscape of gender-based violence, really advocating for women's rights, violence against women and all, I came across the issue in 2008 when I was watching American Next Top Model. And there was one of the contestants there who's from the continent who actually advocated for the issue as a survivor. And everything changed. And of course, I started myself reflecting on the situation, on where we are, what is going on. We were in the 2000s, in the new era where things supposed to change. It's a situation where about 200 million of girls and women have undergone FGM on the continent, and other part of the world. So my own definitions, and I'm sure Amini will also abide to that. It's an harmful practice that is a violation of a girl's right to her health, bodily autonomy, and also FGM has an immediate and long-term health risk complication, and that has continued affecting girls and women physical, mental, sexual health and well-being because of these violations. So FGM is a violation of human rights. I will not get into really the details of the levels of the practice, and of the female genital mutilation, but at least you have the bigger picture that it is a violation of the young girls and the women genitalias in different levels. So there's level one, level two, and level three, and all. But with that being said, UNFPA remains committed to see through a total elimination of FGM. As we all clearly articulated, that we really want zero's gender-based violence and harmful practices, by 2030. Over to you.
Wow. Now I know you've said a bit of what it is, and I know for real that we don't want to go into the detail of the matter. But why is it a call for concern? What are some of the implications for this practice?
Yeah, it's again, and it is a global concern. To be honest with you, as I mentioned earlier, over 200 million girls and women have already gone, FGM, and in around 30 countries, and there is really a need for a wake up call. There is a sense of urgency for us to really invest in eliminating the practice. And even sadly, what our program, the program that I coordinate, is trying to do is to prevent an additional 68 million more young girls undergoing this harmful practice before 2030. And we really need to fully eradicate. So the bigger picture is that we have less than a decade to really achieve our SDG 5 target 5.3, which called for the global community to really reimagine a world free of FGM, female genital mutilation, where girls and women have voice, choice and control over their own bodies and life. So it is a call for concern, because the young girls next to you, and your next door neighbor is not really free of all her right and her bodily autonomy. So it is quite of concern. And as you know, that a lot of us, and a lot of our governments and all, are really not too keen on addressing the issue, because it's not a comfortable issue addressing globally and a global platform. And I really have to thank you, and the work that we are doing with defenders and Youth Hub Africa is to really use the type of platform to really continue to raise awareness and really strengthen our global advocacy to end the practice. So it is definitely call for concern. There's less investment going to, and by investment, I'm talking about resources, adequate resources for the prevention. I'm talking about financial resources. So all of that, it is of concern. We cannot be in 2022 still addressing this practice and have all of us being inactive. So there is a sense of urgency and a call for of our inaction.
Mireille, I think what you've said gets me to reflect, and it leads me to my next question, which is more on those affected. I mean, I'll just give a little story. A few weeks ago, my daughter was away on holidays, and she was coming back into the UK unaccompanied minor with her elder brother. Both of them were unaccompanied, and she was asked a lot of questions. And one of the questions they asked her at the airport was if she has ever heard about FGM and if her parents practiced it. So it kind of brought me back to some of the editorials that we had in this magazine. When they came out and she said, "Mom, I was asked about FGM." I mean, she's only 10. She was 9 then, bless you. I mean, she was asked this and she was like, "I don't know because I don't know about it." So who are the people who are most at risk? Who are the people that this mostly affects? FGM.
And I think that question can be answered in different folds. And I'll tell you why. Because today, a girl is about one third less likely to undergo FGM than 30 years ago. So we are somehow making progress. But the statistic are still showing that there's still young girls under the age of 15 that might be subjected to the practice anywhere in the world. So it is a wake up call. As you heard, I mentioned the 200 million women and us trying to prevent the others 68. And the most affected as well, when you look at it, it's the young girls not only going through a trauma that is affecting her entire life, but it's also us, the practitioner, us, the advocates, us, for our inaction we should be affected. The fact that we are now using our voices to really bring the practice to an end, we should also be concerned about that. So the most affected, that now that we're really advocating, is the girls that are might be subjected to the practice under the age of 15. That is, quite of a concern to us. And for us to really get to zero practice, we need to work together. We need that wake up call from stakeholders, partners, in developing countries, and more of our donors and actors on the ground to really share solutions for us to be really able to protect our girls, our young girls, because they're diverse, deserve it. It's one of, I mean, my personal mandate that I committed to myself to really, uh, contribute to preventing this practice to happen to a young girl, under the age of 15. So that's my commitment that I pledge.
I love commitments and I love pledges. Thank you so much, Mireille. I think you've given a strong background on FGM. You've also, told us about why it's a call for concern. And to be honest, some people believe that culture is something that we need to hold close to our hearts, but not all sort of cultural practices are good to go or are right to stay. Maybe in the past it had its purpose, but in the future, in the now, and in the future, it doesn't. This is a practice that I believe shouldn't have started in the first place. But yes, we can't cry over spilled milk. So this will take me to the next question, which is more about the role played by different institutions to ensure that we eliminate this once and for all. So, Mireille, we're going to come back to you with regard to what your organization does. But in the meantime, I think I want to hear from Ashifa. Um, I think I want you to tell me, Ashifa, tell me about what your organization does and the role that it plays, especially in the elimination of FGM.
All right. Thank you very much. Youth Hub Africa, with funding support from UNFPA and, of course, the UNFPA-UNICEF joint program on the elimination of female genital mutilation, has over the years implemented programs or projects that focus on mobilizing young people, like our name implies, Youth Hub. We work with and focus on target young people in our implementation, across the countries, to mobilize them to the forefront of causing behavioral change and ensuring that adequate policies and are enacted, and implemented
so as to lead to the total abandonment of female genital mutilation. Because as Mireille has mentioned, another 68 million young girls across the world, not just Africa, across the world, are at risk if we do not accelerate action. And being that young people are usually FGM is mostly carried out on on girls 0 to 15, being that they are the ones most at risk, we focus on them, we target them, so that alongside other partners that we work with, we amplify their voices. And over the years, we have worked with young men in Nigeria through the Young Men's Network to mobilize, to engage stakeholders at the community level. Last year, we had town hall meetings in the five endemic female FGM states in Nigeria. We engage them in unconventional ways. We engage them through sports, through picnics, and also that we have a movement of young men who are speaking up for their sisters, who are speaking up for their daughters, and who are saying no to FGM. And at the regional level, we are also implementing, starting from 2021, we've been implementing the strengthening youth advocacies to eliminate female genital mutilation across Africa. We are implementing in 8 African countries. And what do we do? What do we do with these young people? We started a movement. We call it the Youth and FGM movement, where we have, first of all, we have a number of activities. We have a virtual academy. We call it the African Youth and FGM Virtual Academy. We rolled out in 2021 last year, and from then till today, we have trained over 2,000 young people across different African countries. They have learned about what FGM is. They have learned about the types. They have learned about the origins and then the trends. They've learned about the laws and how they can advocate. We also have a course where they learn about advocacy. They learn about communication, because in advocating for the elimination of FGM, it's important to also do no harm. It's important to communicate clearly, to know who you are communicating with. And through this course, they have learned. And in last year, one of our learners reached out and said, I have a friend who is about to undergo labia stretching, and because of what I learned, I spoke to her, I told her the effects, and she has also said, okay, she will not go through with it again. He spoke with her mom as well, and we were able to save that young girl who was going to school. She was 20 at the time. The mother had to sneak her out to take her to another community where her uncle lives, because there was so much pressure at the home front. We also have regional convenings where we have young Africans, come together to engage, to interact. And through that, we have, they are able to support one another. We have competitions. We started having competitions for young Africans. We use technology, and storytelling. It's amazing. It's amazing what young people can do to come up with creative ways towards to advocate for the elimination of FGM. Some of them used art, some of them used storytelling, animation. They wrote stories, they took pictures, they developed applications. So one of them who started a podcast, who were the guests she's inviting. She's inviting some of the young ladies that she met during one of the conferences that we have. We also have an interactive web platform where young people just come together, they learn, where we have resources they have been accessing. We have an ongoing storytelling competition where they tell fictional, they just write fictional stories, short stories, creators, they share, they share contacts on social media. And we have received from May till date, we have received about a million, and shared them on so we have different platforms. We also have started, we wrote a petition to the African Union, and through the website, we have received close to 50,000, signatures so far, demanding for African Union to take action on the elimination of female genital mutilation. Youth of Africa also supports, because we have built a reputation in this field. young people who want to carry out activities, they reach out to us for support, and Youth of Africa also supports young people, in carrying out their activities. It's something we do all the time. We support them with materials, we support them with financial resources. We also have, at the country levels, we also have grassroots organizations that are led by young people. We call them national consortiums, who are funded to, young people developing national youth national action plans, where they engage with policymakers at their levels or community levels. They carry out activities that mobilize other young people. In Senegal, the other last month, we had beach soccer with young boys, engaging young boys in ending FGM. We've also had engagement with ministers, with parliamentarians, and they've, just engaging with them and them showing support. We also had debates with the university students, and several other activities that Youth of Africa is doing to contribute to the elimination of female genital mutilation. And I must say that we indeed are making good progress. Thank you.
Wow, thank you very much. Thank you so much, Ashifa. I think you're doing a lot, but one thing I notice is that you're not just working on your own, you're involving others, and you've also, you know, giving other people the opportunity to come up with initiative that your organization can sponsor. This simply means your organization is already positioned in a way that can carry along others. And I have this concept, and this concept is that when you have the lights, you need to lift your light really high in the sky. That means you need to hold it, because the brighter your light, the more it attracts, and the more it attracts, the more people can see your light from afar. If you have your light, or if you have a torch and you're pointing it on the floor, then very few people are going to spot that, and that means very few people are going to be involved in the things that you're doing. So well done, great job. Let me step over to you, um my able sponsor, Keza, defender. I am extremely proud to be hosting you today, because you know how back and forth we've gone for this program to work. Now, I know we are one of the things that your organization is doing to help eliminate NGM, but I want you to tell us, what are some of the local initiatives that you're doing at the moment, and what are some of the things that you've done in the past, the things that you're doing in the moment to help, put a stop to all this.
All right, thank you, Adeline. Defend Defenders is the Eastern Horn of Africa Human Rights Defenders Project. And what we do here is we work to promote and protect the rights of human rights defenders. So a human rights defender is basically anyone who professionally or out of passion seeks to protect and promote the human rights of the communities that they live in or any individuals. So Defend Defenders also hosts different coalitions of human rights defenders and networks of human rights defenders. For example, we are the Secretariat of the Pan-Africa Human Rights Defenders Network, which is commonly known as African Defenders. And some of our programmatic areas mostly look towards the protection of human rights defenders on one hand, as well as the promotion of human rights defenders on the other hand. What our organization does to contribute towards the elimination of female genital mutilation is look out for those in the communities that are fighting for the rights of the girl child, of the women and girls that are exposed to this harmful practice. So one of our priority areas, and while coming up with these priority areas, of course, we looked at the most affected and most at-risk human rights defenders. And one of those areas is women human rights defenders, especially those who are working on ending harmful practices like child marriages and female genital mutilation and the like. So at Defend Defenders, what we do in terms of protecting these women human rights defenders is we provide emergency protection and security management. And under this, what we do is we provide tailored interventions for women human rights defenders. So it's not just specifically in this case, the women human rights defenders who are addressing issues of female genital mutilation and other harmful practices. So it's not your conventional protection assistance that we provide to other human rights defenders. This is tailored to the risks that they're facing and the threats that they're facing. So some of the interventions that we have are relocation. While you were introducing me, Adeline, you mentioned the Ubuntu Hub Cities Initiative, which is a temporary relocation program for human rights defenders who are at risk. And in this case, if the risk that you're facing or that you're exposed to reaches a level that you're not able to safely live within your community or live within the environment that you're working in, then we're able to support you to be relocated to a safe space. We've now launched 8 hub cities on the continent, and this caters for those that speak all languages. So we're able to relocate you to a safe space and a space that's going to allow you to continue working safely. So not only do we do that, we also provide medical support, legal support. So a lot of women human rights defenders that we support are those that are working on addressing FGM. Because they are women, in most cases they are women because they're survivors of this practice. You'll find that they face a lot of pressure from the communities, and these risks are also further extended to their families. So we also provide family support. And then because of the trauma and the pressures of the society, in most cases, they're also victims of distress, emotional distress, psychosocial distress. So also provide psychosocial care and well-being support for these women that are looking out for the girls that are exposed to this harmful practice. So that's the protection angle of it. And then in terms of promoting human rights defenders, we provide platforms for these women human rights defenders to amplify their work. We also help them create visibility for their work. And this is not only at regional level, but international level as well. So we have consultative status at United Nations level, so that's at the Human Rights Council, as well as observer status at the African Commission on Human and People's Rights. So based on the priorities that these women are seeking to address, so this is at national level in most cases, we support them to engage the relevant mechanisms at this level. So I think the beauty about this is, as Mireille mentioned in her submission, there are actually mechanisms in place, especially at the United Nations level, which is looking out for on the international aspect of things. The mechanisms are in place to support the elimination of female genital mutilation. So what we do is just provide the platform for these women human rights defenders to actually access these mechanisms, and also train them on how to efficiently use this mechanism so that it can reflect on their work and empower their work, and so that it can be more impactful. So that's on the advocacy front. We also help them address the legal and policy environment in which they operate in. So this is, for example, pushing for laws that criminalize FGM. We provide them with platforms to, again, access mechanisms that can actually bring these laws to light, and also the training in how to access these mechanisms, how to push for such laws, make it evidence-based and the like. And so basically, in terms of promotion, that's our basis is to amplify their work, and also to build their capacity so that they're able to make it more effective and more impactful. So in a nutshell, that is what we do at Defend Defenders. And with the support of UNFPA and the Spotlight Initiative, we have also been engaging with the national human rights institutions to actually have them involved in this fight against FGM and in the elimination of FGM. So through that, we've been engaging them and trying to bring them into collaboration with the women human rights defenders, and have a joint effort and joint campaign in the elimination of FGM. So in a nutshell, that is what we do at Defend Defenders.
Thank you, Keza. Thank you very much. To say that I can repeat everything that you've said will be magical. But you've told us, you've given us a deep details. I mean, even the things that I didn't know when I was researching Defenders. I mean, I've now been enlightened with some of the things that you do. Just a quick question: and do you only focus the Horn of East Africa, or does your service extend to the rest of other African countries that I missed?
No, so
So
it's not
it's
only
not
the
only
Eastern
the
Horn of
Eastern Horn of
Africa,
Africa,
it's
it's
continent-wide.
continent-wide.
So
So
Defenders,
Defenders,
as the
as the
organization,
organization,
has a
has a
mandate to
mandate
focus
to
on
focus
Eastern
on
Horn of
Eastern Horn of
Africa, but
Africa,
that's
but
just the
that's just the
project.
project.
But we
But
host
we
the
host the
secretariat of the
Secretariat of the
Pan-Africa
Pan-Africa
Human Rights
Human Rights
Defenders
Defenders
Network,
Network,
which is
which is
continent-wide.
continent-wide.
Got you. I think I
Yeah.
wanted you to say that again so that those who are watching. I mean, we had a few questions after the last session we did, and a few people were asking, how do we get to work with some of these people? Can they work in our countries? And so I just want those who listen to that to know that no, it's not just Uganda or Eastern Horn of Africa, but it's also, continental wide. So in case you have projects, there is something that you want to put forward, anything that you want to do to help stop once and for all FGM, please, you can contact African Defenders, or better still, contact Defenders, and they can direct you to the right network, the right platform. So let's come to you, Mireille. I know that Keza has talked a lot about what you do, what your organization do, and I know that Ashifa has said the same thing, but let me listen to you. I mean, you are UNFPA. You are the global coordinator for UNFPA and UNICEF, you know, coordinating activities to eliminate FGM. Tell us, what are some of the things that you do that we can actually pick into to help us, the smaller people, trying to do the same thing that you're trying to do from the higher level? What are some of the things that you do?
Okay. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you so much,
so much,
Adeline, for
Adeline,
the question.
question.
And I
And
think before I even, go into depth on what exactly we do, I wanted to really thank, Kezia, Ashifa, Defenders and Youth of Africa, because they are part of what we do. And our impact and our presence is through strong collaboration, partnership with such powerful network, regional network like them. So it is part of our roles to also work with regional networks, in-country networks, because they are the one that kind of know the way around the countries, the corridor, where to knock, and also I'm really grateful for this strong partnership. So a little bit about the joint program. Since its inception, in 2008, UNICEF, UNFPA, jointly with UNICEF, leads the largest global program to accelerate the elimination of female genital mutilation. And the joint program for now over 12 years has been providing direct programmatic support to 17 countries, including Indonesia. Those 17 countries, top of my head, you can name it, from Nigeria, Uganda, Ethiopia, Yemen, so you name it, Mali, Niger, all Somalia, Kenya, you saw all of these countries as well. So, but we do provide, additional support to countries as Indonesia, Liberia, Tanzania, who are not really under the joint program, but at least there are some concern that it's worth investing. And through our support, what we have done, in addition to the global influence of the joint program, as far as its advocacy globally, contributing to our advocacy effort, we are able to really reach women and girls with prevention, protections, and care services related to FGM. However, now that we are going into our phase 4, because I arrived at the end of the phase 3 program, with the sense of urgency for accelerating investment to eliminate FGM, and for us through our phase four to really deliver the promise through stronger partnership again as well with the likes of Defenders Youth of Africa, Global Youth Consortium and all. What we also do is to really continue to advocate for national budget line for FGM, and really assist countries government with the coordination mechanism, like in Kenya, for example. They launched the anti-FGM board. So this is really something that a coordination mechanism that we want to see replicated in a lot of countries. Of course, through Defenders, we are also collaborating with national human rights institutions as well. We do a lot of work on really building resilience through innovative funding, movement building. Back in November of 2021, we launched the Global Youth Consortium against FGM that is being led by Dr. Cosly Aberdeji. I hope I did not butcher her name, but she's a survivor who's now leading one of the biggest network movement on the continent, global movement based on the continent, on advocating for a full elimination of FGM. So this is a little bit of, and I'm being humbled when I'm saying this is our contribution, but mainly I'm really thankful for the strong partners that we have. We have established throughout the years. We have Global Media Campaign, who's focusing on really training journalists, training actors in the media as well, really advocating for the full elimination of abandonment of FGM in the countries. We have our SRO office, for example, play a big role on cross-border initiatives. Kenya, Uganda border as well, and including Somalia. So there's a lot of work that is being done through the joint program, and we are really grateful for our partners. But I will say that more importantly, we need to intensify our efforts. There's definitely more need of playing bigger roles now, and due to the sense of urgency. So we are hoping that with this new phase four and our new approach of high five of delivering the global promise, that we'll have more strong advocates. And one role that we also play, and that is something that we really want to really solely focus on for the next phase. It's really strengthening the positive masculinity agenda. As I mentioned earlier, we just had our first Men Engage exhibit right at the lobby of the UN Secretariat. So that is an area that we feel like it's really worth investing as well and play a bigger role. It's important that we have men, young boys, all ages to really join this effort. We need the voice, and having more of men and young men joining this effort, I believe that there is definitely the future is looking very promising. Thank you.
Don't go just yet, Mireille. Let's hear
I
some
will.
of the success story. What's some of the success story that you can proudly say, ever since I joined this program, or this is what we've been able to achieve. I mean, I know it might be hard to say statistically, but I know you've done a lot, through the different, as you've mentioned. But if there is something that you really want to tell us today about a success story for the UNFPA in the elimination of FGM, what will it be?
Wow. Adeline, there's a lot of success stories. You have no idea. Having over 14 legislation in different countries being rectified, adopted, and all, it's also a success story. Having the resolution against FGM, on FGM by the Human Rights Council, it is a success story. And having our one of our biggest champion, Burkina Faso, leading that effort, that initiative, that's a success story. Having one of our biggest champion, Dr. Maurice Sanda, who's one of and he's also being highlight it in the magazine. This is also a success story, changing a new approach for advocating for such a complex cause. So thank you, different defenders, of really taking the approach of using a magazine as well to amplify our voice as a success story, because in the magazine you hear different voices. Having Letitia Carr using her hair to also advocate for our work, it is a success story. Having Hinoak, we launched Innovation Hub, young. I see your face, getting more interested. Our SRO office, thank you, taking the innovation approach of really engaging young entrepreneurs who now, at the moment, they were working with Afri Labs, an incubator, being trained on really coming up with, new innovative approach, tricks, new technology, working with Hub Africa, with the FGM Academy. It is a success story. Having Dr. Costley leading the global youth consortium against FGM, it is a successful story. We have a lot of success stories. This program has impacted millions, over 5 millions of lives of women and girls. These are success stories, but I feel like there's more that can be done. We need everyone to join the conversation. Next time, why not have a conversation with our head of states, with strong actors, with the donor countries as well, having also donors committing to the new phase of this program for the next year, for us to enable us to deliver the promise with the strong partners that we have for the next 8 years. Our success stories, we have amazing donors with strong commitment. New ones are coming. These are success stories. Success stories come in any shape or forms, and as long that we're impacting and transforming the lives of girls, for them in 2000 by 2030 to have the right to, their own bodily autonomy right. It's for us as a success story. And and this is also a call to action, to realize that if the World Economic Forum states in the report that it will take us 135 days to reach gender equality, then there is a sense of urgency for us to really wake up, because we need to hear them all, those success stories, and those success stories that are really impacting the lives, really far beyond, in the grassroots organizations. If you know more about what different defenders are doing in local communities as well, so you will kind of realize our reach. And I'm really thankful for our country offices as well, for all the support for both agencies. So these are few success stories that I can share. Yes, thank you.
Wow, Mireille, when you were speaking, I was resonating with you. This is because your organization and Defenders gave me the opportunity to work, my team and I, to work for the release of this magazine. Through this magazine, I was able to know some of the things that you're doing, and sometimes we fail to give ourselves a pat on the back each time we achieve something big. But the minute you started listing, I told myself, this is good work. And you say it so casually, but I can tell you a lot of energy, a lot of work, a lot of money, time has been put in place to make sure you had all those successes. So let me hear from you, Ashifa. I want to hear what you've been doing. What are some of the success stories that you can share with us today?
Okay, thank you very much again for the opportunity. I'd like to speak about the people, because when we call numbers, it's as if it's just numbers. But specifically, I get excited each time I engage with young people, and they give me the feedback from some of our interventions. We have a young lady in Nigeria who is in medical school. She's in her fourth year. Last year she engaged, she participated in our visual and storytelling competition, and you will not imagine that someone who is in medical school will be able to do animation. She put in that animation and she'd won in her category, and she was really excited. She created a YouTube page. She posted the video. She was just sharing. Said she shared the links with everybody. And as at March, she had over 1,000 views and all. And she said, we because we also have quarterly engagements with them to just check up. We call it check-in calls, just checking on them and know how they are doing, how they are using their work. And she said she even wants to even develop a second video. She wants to even do more, but she wants to learn more about animation and she doesn't know how to get that mentorship. And there and then someone said, hey, my company, another young person on within our network said, I can do that for you. I can support you. And the last time I checked on her, she was so excited. She said, oh, she's making progress. She was almost done. As soon as she's done, she's going to share it with me. This is someone that, as at December said, she didn't know anybody, that she does not know person, because both her parents are doctors. She does not personally know anybody that has undergone FGM, but because of all that she has learned, she's really passionate and she's taking it, she has taken it as a responsibility to be a voice, to be a champion. Not only her, there's another young lady that said she has produced a movie on FGM. I love how young people use their platforms. They use their art. They use whatever platform they have. And she reached out to ask, can she premiere? Can she come and do the premiering in our office? We say, hey, that's awesome, man. We are really excited. We are looking forward to doing that with her in October. That is last month. And then the networks that we have built across different countries. We have a young lady in Sierra Leone that she for her, she started this journey because in her university days during her project, she wanted to write about FGM and her project supervisor said no. He ended up failing her in that year and she had a carryover. She carried over that extra year in university. So for her, it's a personal thing. And working with us has helped her to, providing resources for her, as our organization has helped her to do the things that she has always wanted to do. She has been able to, through this partnership, through the support, she has been able to host the first of ever debate, with university students in her country. And not only that, she was able to gain access to ministers in her country, and they committed. She said it's huge. She said it's huge. It's huge for her. It's huge for her country that politicians are openly committing to the cost of ending FGM. So there's so much. There's so much. When they come back, there's also patients from Zimbabwe who wrote a poem. She's spoken word artist. She wrote a poem last year, and as of this year, she said she's doing a compilation. She's writing a book. We do a compilation of poems, and for me, the transformation just within a short period of time. In fact, our cohort, our African Youth and FGM Virtual Academy, the course is ongoing, and you see there's a young man in the Gambia that in fact while he was still taking the course, he gathered young people around his community to just talk with them about FGM, and he shared the pictures with us on the Telegram platform. And for me, these individual stories mean a lot. These individual stories mean a lot because it shows that what we are doing is making a difference in the lives of people. So for me, it's beyond the numbers. And you need to see the number of stories we have received on the web platform where, you see people, because what we do on the storytelling competition is that we share the young people who submit the stories, share the links, and people are able to engage. And people, some people do not, are not aware that there is FGM still going on. They are not aware. So some of them are amazed. Is this still being practiced? Because we need everybody to know that this thing is still going on. We need that awareness, and we are really grateful to the joint program, to UNFPA, for the opportunity to provide platforms for young people to express themselves, and then for more young people to know and to join this movement, because like I mentioned earlier, FGM affects young people, it affects them, it affects their life outcomes and all. So to have them to take the lead in advocating for its eradication, it's a big deal. It's a big deal, and I'm glad that we are making progress.
Thanks so much, Rafi. Oh my God. I like the way you've talked about Zimbabwe, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, and that means your program is not only limited to your local community, but you give others, opportunities around Africa to join in and feed into what you're doing. So well done on that. Truly proud of what you've been doing. Now let's come to you, Keza. Let's listen to, I know Defend Defenders, I know you've done an amazing work. I think I'm number one success story. But I want to listen from you. Tell us some of the success story that your organization that you can really be proud of.
Thank you, Adeline. Maybe just to mention some of, as Mireille said, if she went on about the success stories, then we'll probably never finish here. But one that I'd like to really highlight is the primer that was developed by UNFPA. And what the primer seeks to do is to capacitate the national human rights institutions, so they can conduct public inquiries, and all this is geared towards the prevention and elimination of FGM. So, with the primer and the UNFPA UNICEF joint program, we collaborated to raise awareness about the primer and to actually build the capacities of the national human rights institutions. And this is something that has been a success story for us, leaving no man behind, bringing everyone on board, looking at how best we're going to influence these policies and legal environments that can contribute towards the overall elimination of FGM. So last year, in commemoration of Human Rights Day and the 16 days of activism on against gender-based violence, we had a roundtable conversation. We had representatives of national human rights institutions across the continent. On this platform, we had women's rights organizations that are seeking to eliminate FGM on the continent. And we had a very good discussion and taking stock of already what has been happening, but also identifying what gaps there are. I mean, Africa is is the continent that has the most laws against FGM, or should I say, perhaps also legal provisions against FGM. But what's being done to actually look at how these are being implemented and the practicalities around this? So it was a very informative discussion. Many takeaways that have now informed further interventions on this. And I guess the overall success story for all of us would be zero tolerance for FGM. So I'd like to perhaps thank again Mireille and the UNFPA and all the work that they've been doing towards elimination of FGM and bringing organizations like Defend Defenders on board. As I had mentioned before, one of our priority areas and most at-risk human rights defenders are women human rights defenders who are addressing elimination of FGM and other harmful practices. And throughout our work, as I briefly I've given you a background on the work of Defend Defenders. Typically, when we're supporting human rights defenders, in most cases, the risks that they face come from the state. The perpetrators of this risk are the state. But in the case of women human rights defenders who are addressing the elimination of FGM, this is from the communities. This is from your neighbor, your family. So it makes it all more even difficult to provide support to them. So the success story in our case for this is raising awareness of the work that these women human rights defenders do. In most cases, they don't even know that they're human rights defenders, but doing this out of passion, protecting their daughters from practices that they've probably been through or have gone through, and the fathers who are also looking out for their children and preventing these practices from happening. So raising awareness of the work that your grassroots person, your next door neighbor is doing in their efforts to eliminate FGM, and also exposing them to all these mechanisms that are in place to actually protect them from the risk that they're facing and to actually empower them. These are our success stories. So just your common person, your sister, your brother, who's doing the little that they can to actually push for the elimination of FGM. That's our success story.
So much, Keza. I think now we're getting into understanding, what your organization, the achievement of your organization. We've heard about what you do. We've heard about some of the things that you've achieved. I know there are a lot of challenges, in dealing with things like this. I know because I'm from an typical African family. And when there is something that we say this is a norm, this is the ethics, this is what we do as a family, it is so difficult to break that chain. I know you must be facing lots of challenges. What are some of the challenges that Defender faces that you think you want to share with us, really in a nutshell, since we're coming towards the end of our program?
I think the biggest challenge that we face is the women human rights defenders seeking out for help. They face the risks, but they're not um, brave enough to seek out for the help because of the context that they work in. Their husbands do not probably allow them to publicly advocate for the rights of the girls. So they're probably doing this in hiding. So one of the biggest challenges that we face is actually being able to access these women, human rights defenders, not only women, but the men as well. In communities where the practice is the norm, if you come out as a man and speak out against this, in most cases, the entire society will turn against you. So reaching out to those people who are actually against the practice on the grassroots level has been our biggest challenge. So there's a need to raise more awareness of FGM and activism against FGM on the grassroots level, and exposing them to the mechanisms that we have in place to empower them to make their work more impactful, and for them to actually identify as human rights defenders. To be a human rights defender does not really need, it's not a certification, you don't need a diploma for it. It's something that you do out of passion and just to protect yourself and your community. So that's our number one challenge: awareness of the work of activism against female genital mutilation.
Thank you so much, Keza. Mireille, I'll assume that you face a different challenge to what Keza is facing. So what are some of the challenges that your organization faces as of now?
And I've
And I've
been
been
able
able
to
to
honestly find a way to really answer the question. As I mentioned earlier, this is a global program. So our challenges are global challenges. And as you know, at the moment, we are in the midst of a global pandemic. So that's also a challenge because, as I mentioned, there's a risk of an additional 2 million cases of FGM, to occur, likely to occur due to the pandemic, and the confinement and all. So you have to look at the bigger picture. And there is the existing humanitarian challenges as well. As you know, the whole world is faced with a crisis. You have the climate change crisis, you have the humanitarian crisis as well. So these are the reality from our own perspective, because some of the countries of our reach that within our programs, there are countries who are in the midst of a conflict related matter. There is climate changes, there is health issues, there are intercommunal violence. All of that we have to take that into consideration. And these issues really hindered many of the initiatives of the programs as well. We also have another issue of the entrenched unequal gender and social norms that we have to also take into consideration, and the prevalence of a deep unequal gender dynamics, in certain communities. These are I would say the reality of the joint program, but it's global. There are global realities as well we need to take really strong considerations as well. Some challenges that we are also facing, it's the lack of political will as well in some countries, and also financial investments towards the elimination of FGM. That is one of our biggest challenge. Without the adequate resources, without the support, the much needed support, we might not even reach our targets. So these are some of the reality out there. It's that we're trying to tackle, and again, I'm really thankful for the strong partners that we have, that are really keeping us grounded in doing the work as well. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Mireille. Ashifa, I'll assume as well that you, because you come from a totally different dynamics, your most of the people you work with are youth, so they might not be independent in certain things. I don't know the kind of challenges that your organization faces, to do the work that you're supposed to do. So can you just give me a brief highlight of some of the issues that you might face as an organization?
Okay, thank you. Because we are working, dealing with, like every other person has said, it's a cultural, it's a cultural norm, it's a cultural practices, and it's kind of sensitive, to a lot of people. Sometimes, like someone else has said, getting people to publicly support or to declare support for the elimination of FGM is not always possible, because of the sensitivities. And as a result, in some contexts, even the political will is low because of the exigencies, because of the peculiarities. And so, even though someone personally believes that, okay, FGM is a violation, agrees that is a violation of human rights, because they do not want to lose their political seat, because they do not want to offend key stakeholders, decision makers that are key in placing them in power, they look the other way. And our work is mainly advocacy, and we also see for the perpetrators as potential partners. So we continue to push, but those are some of the challenges. And another thing that I always say I love to see is to see a situation where people, women, girls that have survived FGM, stand and speak up against it. But for some of these reasons, they would rather not speak up publicly. And sometimes it's like, okay, you say there's FGM, you say that it has all these effects. Where are the people? Where are the people? Where are they? I don't know them. I've not seen them. Those are some of the challenges that we face. But as we continue to push, I believe that the resistance, is getting weaker, and we will be able to achieve our goals. Thank you.
Much. I think we've heard about challenges from three different perspectives, and I'm truly happy that we have the same base. We all want to do the same things. We liaise or connect with different people in different environments, different stakeholders, different people that we want to change their mindset. But we all have one destination. That destination is a deadline that we have of 2030. How realistic is this? Mireille, I'll start with you. I know you mentioned you've done a lot of work already, but you're still eyeing the deadline and thinking, are we going to be able to make it? So we have these deadlines. How realistic are we?
Oh, Adeline and fellow panelists, I'm really optimistic, and I know it's we only have little than now 8 years to go. To be honest with you, but this is the decade of action for us to deliver the global promise to end FGM. As you know, in 2010, the United Nations and the global community ushered in a decade of action to deliver all the SDG goals by 2030. And for us, it's all about aligning with the transformative promise that 2030 agenda will be able to, you know, to come out successful. So if I can say it, what we are trying to do now, we're really trying to reinforce this urgency, to intensify our efforts. Ending FGM definitely is a priority through new transformative methods. I mentioned earlier that, for the next phase, for the new phase four, we are with and we are introducing our high fives the new high five of ending FGM. It's all about really focusing on prioritizing girl agency, intensifying our efforts, strategic partnership, bringing more female and youth, feminist and youth movements, and also innovation as well. So I believe if we go with that mindset of leaving no one behind, we'll be able to succeed. And also strategic partnership. So there's no time for inaction. And if we all realize the urgency of us ending the practice and achieving HGD 5, target 5.3, it's quite a priority, it's instrumental, it's critical. I believe that we can make it happen. It's right around the corner, but anything is feasible, especially in COVID. The global pandemic and the crisis is giving us more room for discussions, more room for not only discussions, but also implementing some of these discussions and kind of board initiatives that we have, in the pipeline. So I'm very optimistic, and I'm pretty confident that, yes, we can reach to zero in certain countries by 2030.
Well, thank you so much, Mireille. I think you are the right person amongst my panelists today to respond to that question, because everything that they do, that Keza does, or that Ashifa does, it comes at the top of the pyramid. And at the moment, you are sitting at the top of the pyramid. This set, I want to jump right up to question 9, which is really not a question. And the way I'd like us to wrap up on this is I'd like us to wrap up on the question 9, or the point number 9 right up to point number 10, which is a take home message. But before doing the take home message, I want to just flip through the different covers, because we cannot complete or conclude this conversation without talking about some of the activists, some of the champions, some of the people. So if you can show your cover, Mireille, that would be fine. That way we know that we have it. Keza, don't worry, yours is on its way. Ashifa, I'm going to make sure you receive some as well. So for us to, I want to pop up some of the covers of this magazine, and when you're giving your take home message, I'll just like you to give us a yes. It's important to use people of influence to help drive change, or you don't think it matters. So this is just to support Mireille and her organizations, because they use a lot of influencers, celebrities, influencers, hair artists, painters. They use all sort of people, and I'm so happy we had the opportunity of, to talk to some of these people one on one. That was a great opportunity for us. So let me just quickly flip through the covers, because it's here anyway. So we'll start with His Excellency, former President of Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta, and we picked on some of the quotes that he said, and also the commitment that is made, that he's going to bring Kenya to eliminate FGM altogether. We're hoping that the new president is going to take on this as his own responsibility and push this as well. We also had Ragiatu Toure. I mean, any of my panelists will tell us if they've worked with any of our covers, and just give us any story that is interesting during their take-home message. And we have Stephanie Okereke, she's an actress, we all know her. Angeline Kidjo is a strong advocate and a champion. And Nimko Ali Obe, CEO of the Five Foundation and the Global Partnership to End FGM. We also had Josephine Kulia, Dr. Josephine. I love her flares. I love her passion. I love how she's very expressive, in what she says and how she says it. We had Dr. Mariam Dahir on the cover, former footballer Efe Eric Ambrose, current footballer. We also have Tony Mwembia, founder, executive director of Men and FGM. Yes, men to play a great part. Soraya Adi with I Belong to Me. We spoke with Dr. Kunyata Morisanda, who is one of the high-level champions for, to eliminate FGM. We also talked to Infra Ahmed. We spoke with Shinina Shanye of Resource Mobilizer for Gender Advocacy Office. We spoke with the former youth ambassador of African Union Commission chairperson, Aya Chebi. We also had on the cover taking jar for, oh yes, we had taking jar. I'm sure most of you love his music. His music is very, in our last conversation, his music was running in the background. So if you did have the chance to listen, please do listen and Google him on YouTube. He has a lot of music that goes straight into advocacy. We've talked about Dr. Maurice Sander, and then we are back to us. So all these people are some of the people that we've engaged with. So the strategy, if you can see, is clear. UNFPA uses influencers, people of affluence, influence, people who are strong in their community to help drive change. Let's start with you, Ashifa. In your closing remark, please tell us what you feel or what you think this strategy is good at, and what is a take home message that you will want our audience to take home with them today.
Okay. Thank you very much. This, I think that working with influencers is quite a brilliant idea because these are people that have huge following that people admire, that people make decisions. They wear a dress and people begin to scramble to wear such a dress. They use something and every other person wants to use it. And to have these people use their platforms to advocate for the elimination of female genital mutilation. I think it's a brilliant idea. Stephanie Okereke, for example, as someone who, as a lead, a woman who has been acting, using her platform, using movies, producing a movie that targets ending child marriage, that also shows the effects, the pain of fistula and all. It's sometimes when you just talk, people think you are just talking, but when they see it play out in a movie, I think it's easier to relate. I really admire that work. It also reminds me of Sandra's Cross, is a movie that was produced by Youth Hub Africa. When you watch a movie, watching movies, it helps you just sit and just have move this scenes or these stories help to start conversations that lead to behavior change. And the fact that she's taken that movie all across the world and then translated it, into different languages so that there are no restrictions, so that no one is left behind no matter the language you speak. The movie, that is why you sit in I can sit in Nigeria and watch an Indian movie. Even if I don't hear what they are saying, even if I don't understand the language, I can relate with, I can just watch and relate with the pictures or something or the drama that is playing out in the movie. And it also brings me back to what I always like to say, that whatever platform that you have, whatever thing that it is that you find to do it well, use it well. You have a social media page, use it. You have a social media handle, use it. Even if you don't have quite a large following, keep using it. You are a trader, you have people coming to you every day, you have that opportunity to chip in something, to start a conversation and talk to them about the effects. Because most people think that they say it's culture is good for the women and all. It's important that we amplify, the pain, the effects that the people, the women and the girls that have survived FGM, let them see and know that this is how it affects us, this is how it affects these girls. So having these conversations with people, using whatever platform, you are an artist, use your art. You are a technological, inclined person. Use your technology. You can build applications. You can write whatever it is. You can use whatever platform that you have. You manage programs. You manage programs in the development sector. Do it well. Do it in such a way that you are able to affect the lives of people and get the desired results. So in closing, for me, is young people, we must continue to use our platforms. We will not wait until we become presidents or governors. we are also influential and we must continue to push. We must continue to be in the forefront for in Africa, so that we are able to push and Africa is able to meet, or achieve the sustainable development goals. Thank you.
Thank you, Achifa. Thank you very much for that brilliantly take home message. I'm gonna go to Keza. Mireille, before I come to you, there was a question there on the and on there's a question back end which I'm sure most have might have been addressed to you. I missed it, but I'm gonna come back to that question. And if any of you have got a reply to that, then that will be fine. But I'll go to Keza first, and she can give us her opinion about the cover. If there's anyone she's worked with, I'm sure there's loads, and also a take-home message. So over to you, Keza.
Thank you, Adeline. So I think the approach of using influencers, or should I say influential personalities, to push the campaign definitely shows the outcomes of this. The impact shows for itself. The global campaign has gained traction. We've gotten so many state and non-act and not state and non-state actors on board and committing to eliminating FGM by 2030. So I think the word speaks for itself. It creates a more wider reach. We have the information moving faster and reaching more people. But as Ashifa had said, this doesn't only stop at the top. Yes, we've seen the president, we've seen the very influential actors on this, but this also just comes down to you and I, and seeing how we can all come together to join the global movement. So this movement, and that will be my take-home message, that this global movement includes you and I. It includes your neighbor, includes your family, includes everyone. Everyone needs to be on board. Let's not leave anyone behind. Let's all work to ensure that the right of every girl to be free, protected, free of FGM, and also let's also advocate to increase the investment, in girls and women empowerment. I think there's a campaign that was going around, hashtag Invest Don't Trust, and this was pushing for that. So let's all. We need all hands on deck. We need everyone, not me as well, in my capacity as a program officer at Defend Defenders, but just me in my personal capacity to come on board, and that goes for everyone else who's online. So that would be my take-home message, just to reiterate what Ashifa said, that everyone can play a part in this.
Thank you so much, Keza. I mean, I can listen to you talk the whole day because each time you talk, there is something that I want to ask. But I'm sure if we're doing the question and answer at every point, they will never going to leave. So, but before I come to you, Mireille, and your take-home message, let's answer the question from Danielle. I mean, if anybody has the answer, they can jump in and answer. But what strategies do you use to communicate in areas without electricity about this problem? Mireille, that should be for you or anybody who who communicates on FGM in areas without electricity. I don't know if that can. It's a question that I picked from the panel, and then the other.
Actually, no, anyone can answer that question because when we think about our continent, I don't think city can stop us at anything. When you look at this, has been entrenched in our tradition for centuries. So it's the same way they used to communicate about the practice, to perform the practice is the same way we're using to end the practice, using community voices, using the chiefs, using the strong women in the community. We have a program, for example, grandmother program in Senegal. We went there in Koda, where you had grandmothers coming together. I have a lot of pictures on my Facebook, together with social norms, holistics games, actually, to really spread the word and raise awareness about FGM in the community, young girls as well. So these are the tactics that we use, and people will use, you know, storytelling under the trees. So this is what is entrenched in our culture, the way we used to communicate, as far as we can go back centuries ago, how we communicate with our phones without all of that. So we use exactly the same tools that we used back then, if I can say that, in those community. So I don't think the lack of technology, the lack of electricity should stop us, raising awareness to stop the practice by 2030. In contrary, I would say that it should push us to really have that strong and relying on grassroots organization, community organization, and really push for more investments and more funding towards this community to make it happen. I think that will be my answer.
Thank you very much, people, for joining in today. And thank you so much to my fellow, I'll bring to my fellow panelists. This has been a very strong conversation. This is the first time we're having this, with extended partners on board. And I feel this is something that we need to do often, because so many people need to be educated, so many people need to be schooled, so many people need to accept that FGM is an issue and it has to stop. It is true that most of the people we are close or connected to are in the city, and they don't see this all the time, or they don't hear about it. But we should try and reconnect with our grassroots, our villages. We should ask questions to our aunties, our uncles, and ask if this is something that is happening. Um, as one of my cousins had gave birth to a baby the other day in the hospital, and the midwife is a lady from India, and Shaka. We were just talking about what she want to do once she retires, and she said, "Oh, I want to go back to India." And my cousin said, "Why do you want to go back to India? What do you want to do there when you go to India? What is it you want to do?" And behold, this was 3 days ago. She said, "I want to set up an organization to help fight FGM." I almost flew out of my chair. I was like, "Where is my bag?" I pulled out a magazine and I gave her. And I was so surprised because I had not talked about it. We were in strong labor. And so this means something. Within a month, two people, out of nowhere. The immigration officer talking to my 9-year-old daughter about FGM. The midwife who delivered baby Zoe talking about FGM. I just think that I need to bring my voice. I need to add my voice a bit stronger than I have. To be honest, the only time I have done something on FGM is now with this project. But having learned about it, having listened to you girls, having worked with you, I think it is time for me to bring in some of the other people that I know, some of the other people that I work with, to push it so that it goes stronger. It goes to the community that we must reach and we must touch. So we've come to the end of this session, and except you will permit me, if anyone has something to say, this is your time for you to say it. And I'm just going to stay silent for 2 seconds and wait to see if someone has something for to add.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
just
quickly,
quickly,
thanking
thanking
you,
you,
Adeline,
Adeline.
and the entire team, FabAfriq team, for putting off this amazing magazine. And I'm sure it will go a long way, contributing to our daily work as well. And really thanking, Keza and Ashifa, from two strong partners. But now to the global community, now that you have heard us, we spoke about it for over an hour and a half, that our aim is really a world free of female genital mutilation, where girls and women have voice, choice, and agency. You heard about us brush on the funding gaps, that we need more investments as well. But I think now is the time to reflect and really call on all of us on committing to talking about it, investing, and thinking about the future of our young girls. There is a generation currently now undergoing. There is the next generation that is still at risk. So what we are trying to do is to leave no one behind, gathering everybody's voice to make it happen. So there's no time for inactions. Don't vest and arrest. Invest. So yes, so that's what I can add. Thank you.
Thank you, Mireille. Thank you very much. Okay, I can confidently and comfortably shut off, stop talking, and please do remember to share this conversation. Share to your network, it's going to be on our platforms, and let's see how far we can drive this, how far we can push it. But I want to thank you guys, for you girls, for taking your time to join us today, and I'll be seeing you sometime later. Bye
Thank
now.
you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.